Ben Shapiro shreds Bill Nye, another abortion activist. Let's take a look.
Challenged by my producers. And as you know, I love a good challenge. Today, we're going to be presented with a series of pro-abortion arguments from Bill Nye, the science guy, who's very scientific. I'm going to debunk each of them.
Many more hundreds of eggs are fertilized than become humans. Eggs get fertilized, and by that I mean sperm get accepted by ova a lot. But that's not all you need. You have to attach to the uterine wall, the inside of a womb, a woman's womb. But if you're going to hold that as a standard, that is to say, if you're going to say when an egg is fertilized, it's therefore has the same rights as an individual, then whom are you going to sue? Whom are you going to imprison? Every woman who's had a fertilized egg pass through her?
Ben Shapiro will be like, yes. Ben Shapiro, like, no matter what he responds to this as, he 100% would, okay? Like, yeah, of course, why not? Make the pool of women that are being fucking harassed by the criminal justice system in, like, ridiculous ways larger. He doesn't give a fuck.
Okay, stop it right there. Okay, so he's making several arguments in a row. Number one, you'll notice that he says that the location of the fertilized ova is what matters, right? That once it's implanted, then presumably it is now on its way to becoming a full human life. I've noticed that his standard for abortion is not implantation. There are some politicians who believe implantation is the standard, including, for example, Newt Gingrich. That is not his standard. He has not offered a standard, you'll notice. Also, the notion that a spontaneous bodily abortion, meaning your body does not actually carry through the pregnancy, that this is treated the same way as a purposeful, deliberate abortion is very silly. In no area of criminal law would you treat those two things the same. If you let
This is the worst fucking thing I've ever heard in my entire life. This is the most, you are the biggest piece of shit on the planet. There is no difference, and you're fucking lying. You are such a gigantic scum fucking piece of shit, dude. What a garbage psycho. Oh my God. Dude, I didn't realize that this was unironically what these fucking pieces of shit were going to go along with. That the narrative is actually that, like, oh yeah, no one is actually criminalizing fucking miscarriages. Like, no, they are. There is no way to make this distinction, okay? As a matter of fact, plenty of doctors are refusing to fucking treat people for legitimate ectopic pregnancy reasons and legitimate fucking pregnancy complications because they're fucking worried about the law. And in plenty of instances and in plenty of fucking states, they don't even make that distinction. They don't even give a fuck. Not only is it functionally the fucking same, the outcomes are the same regardless, okay? But in certain instances, the legislation literally doesn't even fucking account for it. So shut the fuck up. And by the way, this is not some like, oh my God, unforeseen problem as a consequence of banning abortion. This is exactly what everyone was talking about. I'm a fucking idiot, okay? I'm an idiot. I'm a dumb himbo. And I've been talking about this for years. If you ban pregnancies, you're going to end up with a fuckload of problems, specifically that revolves around like pregnancies that are medical complications, not even a pregnancy because you don't want to fucking carry a pregnancy to term. Which, by the way, you should be able to have regardless. Especially hilarious because, especially oh, did I say pregnancies? I meant abortions. Anyway, this is, of course, additionally hilarious because Ben Shapiro is so cucked by Christianity, despite claiming to be an Orthodox Jew, that, like, he is unironically going against Judaism, which allows for abortion. You fucking bitch. God, he is like the most, he is the, just, oh God, he is the white Christian man's bitch, dude. Biggest bitch.
Left your car in neutral and it slid down a hill and it hit somebody, that would not be treated the same thing as you taking your car, ramming your foot to the gas while somebody is standing right behind the car. Not the same thing. As far as who'd be punished, the entire pro-life movement has made the point that it's the abortion doctor who should theoretically be punished in these cases since he's part of essentially an abortion mill.
Nobody likes abortion.
Wait, stop. Okay, so why? Why? Really? It's fine. What's the problem? He's just said that it's basically the same thing as a
Let me describe this really quickly, because that's not the own that Ben thinks it is. Nobody likes getting a heart transplant either, you fucking dumb idiot. Your wife is a doctor. Maybe she can describe how complicated these medical procedures are. Just because someone doesn't want to get a medical procedure because they're fucking terrified of the outcomes of it, or just because someone doesn't want to get a fucking medical procedure because medical procedures can be traumatic, doesn't change the reality that you can fucking legislate it away. Ben Shapiro would be like, nobody likes amputations. Why? I guess we should stop people from having amputations. Yeah, if you have diabetes and your toes are no longer, there's no blood circulation going down to your toes, you want to get that cut? I'm not letting you. Because Christians said you can't do it.
Naturally occurring thing, and half the time just kind of slides out and whatever. Why? Why does nobody like abortion? Explain.
But you can't tell somebody what to do.
Dude, this is the dumbest. Dude, these arguments are so bad. They're so bad. They're so bad. People don't like going to the doctor, okay? Okay, and no one likes killing kids, Hasan. What do you mean no one likes killing kids? Maybe expand your mind a bit. It doesn't hurt. XQCL. Brother, do not fucking come in here and hit me with an XQCL after saying one of the dumbest things you've ever heard. Dumbest things I've ever heard in this fucking chat. Listen, you dumb juicer fuck. Understand that, number one, your juice lord also doesn't agree with you and thinks you're a fucking dumbass. Number two, okay? Number two, not all juicers. Plenty of fucking juicers in here who aren't as brain dead as this fucking idiot. Easy, okay? Yeah, number two, you're banned. Number three, you're not fucking doing baby murder! It is a medical procedure that revolves around bodily autonomy of the fucking pregnant person, okay? The medical procedure. You can fucking call it baby murder all you want. That's not what's going on.
I mean, she has rights over this, especially if she doesn't like the guy that got her pregnant.
Okay, stop that right there. What? If the guy got her pregnant, and presumably we're not talking about a rape here, but she doesn't like the guy who got her pregnant, so she gets to kill the product? How? Why? Is there any logical connect there at all? By the way, there are many people who don't like the father of their children. The children are fully grown. Can I murder the child now? What happens in cases of divorce? Does mommy just go to kill the kids because
This is so funny. Bro. It's literally like a fucking DNR request, right? Like having a family member in a coma that is not going to be able to fucking survive ever. And Ben Shapiro's like, wow, you want to pull the plug? Wow, you want to pull the plug on your 98-year-old grandfather who's a vegetable? What if I... What? Why? Because you don't like the vibes of your grandfather? Is that why?
daddy don't get, like, what? There's no logical connect there at all.
We have so many more important things to be dealing with.
Wait, stop. What? I mean, man, this is just... He doesn't even bother to carry through the line of argument. It's just a bunch of emotional appeals. We have so many more important things to be dealing with than what? The killing of 1 million unborn human beings in the womb every year in the United States? That seems like a pretty important thing.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Because no one thinks it's killing unborn human beings. You're lying to yourself and other people around you to try and make it seem like it's something more nefarious, and that's exactly what's going on. Bill Nye's original argument completely destroyed the argument that Ben Shapiro is trying to plant. Because if every fertilized egg was actually, every time a fertilized egg did not turn into an abortion, in vitro fertilization, which is a process in which, like, there's 1,000 trials and errors, right, sometimes, would mean that there is an additional 2 million fucking murders occurring just in the process of trying to fertilize an egg. Okay? That is what would be happening. But Ben doesn't say that. He says, 1 million abortions occurring. That's 1 million babies being murdered in the womb. Why? Why don't you extend that fucking argument to in vitro fertilization? The reason why he's not doing that is because he doesn't genuinely believe that it's actually baby murder. But he has to act like it's baby murder, because if it was just about like controlling women's bodies and denying them a medical procedure that they should be able to get, that they could conduct on their own bodies, which would be really, really dangerous, and plenty do, unfortunately, when they have no option of getting this kind of health care. The reason why explaining it like that would not look good for Ben. So he has to explain it in the other way. It's baby murder.
We have so many more problems. To squander resources on this argument based on bad science, on just lack of understanding.
No.
It's very frustrating.
And what bad science have I presented thus far? Any?
Life begins at conception is not science. Life begins at conception is just religion.
You wouldn't know how big a human egg was if it weren't for microscopes.
So the what? Why does the size matter? I'm confused. He's a scientist. This is like him saying, well, you know, does atomic chemistry matter at all? Does molecular biology matter? Like, do those things matter? I mean, if you didn't have a microscope, you wouldn't even know they exist.
Wait, what? Dog. Bill Nye is right. You could make the same argument about a fertilized egg as a fucking cancer. You understand that? As a tumor. Okay? They have very similar properties, dumbass. The difference there is that Bill Nye is unironic. Bill Nye is saying, like, listen, like, no one's making an argument to save tumors, right? I mean, holy shit, I hope not. Ben got that one struck a nerve with Ben. The size matters take from Bill Nye really hit him. I wonder why. Okay? That one hit him hard. He is very upset about that one.
Yeah, but they have consequences, it turns out.
You wouldn't know the process. You wouldn't have that shot, the famous shot or shots where the sperm are bumping up against the egg. You wouldn't have that without science.
Right, and we do. So, and your point is that we'd be better.
Notice how Ben very cleverly, and this is something that a lot of conservatives do nowadays, did not mention why it is scientific to claim that life begins at conception. Because the entire movement behind the abortion is murder narrative believes that life begins at conception. Life begins immediately as soon as an egg is fertilized. But if you mention that, especially in our day and age, people go, okay, that's some fucking Christian zealotry right there. I don't give a fuck about that, dog. You know, chill the fuck out. Shut the fuck up. Ben can't say that, one, because he's Jewish and not Christian. And two, because he understands that a larger audience will believe the narrative that he's trying to craft here when he says abortion is murder, if he doesn't actually mention the premise, if he hides the premise. The underlying premise behind abortions are murder is that life begins at conception. That is not scientific. There is no scientific basis for the claim that life begins at conception. And if life doesn't begin at conception, okay, which is a philosophical argument you can have, but it doesn't pertain to this discussion regardless, okay, then you can't actually fucking provide a counter that is scientific, which is precisely why he didn't even do that. He just said no and moved on to the microscope thing. Notice how he didn't mention why Bill Nye's argument is unscientific.
Better off if we were ignorant like you appear to be.
You stupid.
Man, the science guy over here. I love this. He's deriding science in order to avoid the consequences of his own arguments. He's like, you wouldn't even know about sperm and egg if it weren't for me, the science guy, and that's why you should ignore what's happening with sperm and egg.
So I really encourage you to...
If he was ignoring what's happening with the sperm and egg, he wouldn't have begun his argument by talking about how a sperm and egg are not literally fucking life. Okay? A fertilized egg is not actual life. He already clarified that in the beginning, which Ben didn't have an argument for. He didn't have a counter for. So he moved on. This is just like doing angry faces at Bill Nye describing scientifically correct statements. Okay? That's all this video has been. Ben really fucking fell off, dude. The saddest fall off story has been Ben. A man who unfortunately suffers from success. The success of the conservative movement has destroyed this man. Conservatism revolves around constantly creating new narratives for victimhood and finding persecution where no such persecution exists. And when you are winning so aggressively, like even when you're losing, you're winning so fucking aggressively, okay? Because, you know, the Democrats are supposedly in power right now, and the conservative movement is more powerful than it ever has been in contemporary history. Ben is having a hard time coming up with new narratives of victimhood. That's it. He can't do it. He gave up.
Not tell women what to do and not pursue these laws that really are in nobody's best interest.
They're in nobody's best interest except for the unborn.
I love that. This is the Andrew Tate technique. You're boring.
To do. And
yeah, women's bodily autonomy is boring to talk about. In a legislative agenda designed around denying women bodily autonomy. I love that. I love that. That's great. He just fucking owned Bill Nye by what? Saying that argument is boring and moving on? That's great.
Not pursue these laws that really are in nobody's best interest.
They're in nobody's best interest except for the unborn child. Also, what is a woman? Also, I love that he just comes back to his truism. You can't tell women what to do. The entire point is, I'm not telling a woman what to do with her body. I'm telling her what
a doctor can't do to a woman's body.
She can't do to somebody else's body.
So here's the problem. If you believe in preserving life, if you believe in protecting life, then why the fuck are you telling a woman that she can't take this pill and have an abortion? If you are denying a woman's right to a medical procedure, you are literally saying a whole-ass, full-ass, grown-ass human being is going to have a worse life overall and maybe might even fucking die as a consequence of not being able to get this goddamn medical procedure. Okay? The pro-life movement is built on this oxymoronic, inherently contradictory attitude that, like, the potential for life down the line is still more important than the current life that is alive at this very moment. It's so stupid. It's so idiotic. But, of course, it is purposeful cruelty, just like the top of the hour ad break is, right? Because at the top of the hour, there is a 60-second ad break.
Independent human life within her. That would be the thing. We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, I've debunked communism, JFK conspiracies, and other disputed topics. I haven't yet debunked the huge lie surrounding store-bought meat. Grocery stores and leftists, they'll tell you to...
He's debunked communism, and he's debunked store-bought meat. Dude, I love this. I fucking love this, dude. Everything around this is like, everything around like Ben Shapiro's existence revolves around like a right-wing framing. This is the most like lib shit you can do, bro. Selling fucking steaks by being like, yeah, if you want to be a masculine man and own the libs, buy my steak. I gotta watch this ad.
Grass-fed, super omega, morally superior equity, bringing live your truth beef. It push the lie that those labels mean anything at all. But they don't mean a thing. They're often slapped on products imported from overseas with more frequent
Bro, this is literally the most raspberries in potato salad per capita ass fucking barbecue I've ever seen in my own goddamn life.
flyer miles than you have. Here is the label that matters. 100% American meat. And Good Ranchers has it. Good Ranchers, only sources from farms and ranches right here in the United States. Maybe you thought a steak cooking over a fire couldn't get more American. It can with any box of Good Ranchers. I'm told the iron levels of Daily Wire employees are at an all-time high.
I used to think motherfuckers like Shapiro are based in owning SJWs, but wow, you changed my perspective. Thanks. These motherfuckers are spineless. Keep it, bro. I'm glad that you no longer think that this fucking dweeb lord is like owning SJWs.
Just how good Good Ranchers really is. Ditch the mystery meat aisle. Order from Good Ranchers today. Trust where your meat comes from. You wouldn't invite a stranger to dinner, so don't invite strange meat. Use my code Shapiro. Get $30 off your box of steakhouse quality cuts. Plus,
I mean, what fucking real, like, you know, rancher man is like getting frozen fucking delivered steak instead of hunting for their own meat? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, of course, Ben's audience aren't fucking like the rugged real America ranchers. Ben's audience are just the dickweed fucking dildos that live next door to you in the same bicoastal elitist cities that are supposedly liberal. That's it. Ben Shapiro does this kind of rhetoric, this kind of attitude, this kind of commentary specifically for the CPA that is really fucking annoying and wants to LARP as like a real American. He just wants to like communicate his racist attitudes.
free shipping. Change the way you think about meat and the way you buy it. Your purchase not only strengthens American farms, it also supports what we do here at the Daily Wire. So head on over to goodranchers.com/Shapiro today to debunk store-bought meat with me. He's wearing smart guy glasses. This means he's smart, probably.
Have you ever heard of a band called...
So one of the first questions people have to think about is, are fetuses persons? Now that
Dude, you can't fucking make fun of the way that like other people look, by the way, when you look like this, okay? And when you're best friends with Matt Walsh. Like, Matt Walsh personally looks like the most soy fucking Funko Pop collector I've ever encountered in my entire life. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? Have you seen what Michael Knowles looks like? Have you seen what you look like? The fuck do you mean? This guy, he's got glasses on. Haha, 4 eyes. It's like, bro, you are literally preaching to an audience of fucking incels that are probably watching your fucking commentary from the lockers that they've been stuffed into. The fuck? Have some decency here. Calling someone else a fucking nerd when you're Ben Shapiro? Are you insane?
are fetuses persons? Now that's a very important linguistic question, persons. I didn't say human beings, I didn't say alive. Those are 3 different issues, right? Something can be alive but not be a person. Your dog is a good example. You might love your dog, it's a wonderful thing, but it's not a person.
Is an unborn
Something
person
can
a
be
dog?
human and potentially not be a person, right? Some people think the early embryo, for example, before 14 days, or stem cells being derived are members of the human species, but may not be persons. So what do we mean by persons? We mean something that has a certain set of moral and or legal rights, the most important of which is a right against inviolability. They can't be killed or destroyed or harmed without very good reason.
Okay, so I've noticed an extraordinary amount of circular logic here. Circle detected. Okay, so get this.
This is why you never talk about the philosophical underpinnings of what it means to be a person. Just don't do it. Don't do philosophy. There's no reason. There's no reason for you to ever have a conversation that's that revolves around what it means to be a person or what is sentience, okay? What is humans? It has nothing to do with the matter at hand, legislating away a medical procedure. It is the only time when you are having this conversation is because you're probably encountering a fucking awful person. Don't say bad take. Shut the fuck up. Don't say bad take. No one likes you. You're a fucking philosophy nerd. It's fine. You are probably surrounded by other philosophy nerds, and that's fine. You can have that conversation and not agree on anything, right? You can have that conversation and not agree on it ultimately. or you can LARP as like a person who has grounded their fucking worldview. But when we're talking about it in the real world, okay, when we're talking about like the practical application of talking points or the practical conversations that you might have in an effort to change people's minds, you're not going to be able to have a genuinely productive conversation with the fucking random dude at the water cooler around what it means to be a fucking person, okay? Shut the fuck up. And people like Ben Shapiro use that as an opportunity to immediately implement their talking points and vilify you, okay? You're lost in the fucking sauce, my friend, okay? You don't know what you are getting into. If you are a fucking a philosophy nerd and you try to have this conversation with like someone like Ben Shapiro, they are going to whip you, okay? They are going to bully you. They are going to intellectually dismantle you. They are going to be rhetorically more skilled than you. The moment that you try to have this conversation around philosophy, you've lost. Because it's a whole lot of jargon, okay? It's not a coherent or consistent and clear answer that you're ever going to get. I'm not anti-philosophy, but to try to bring in philosophy into a conversation like this, because what is a person or what is life is a philosophical argument. It is not a biology argument. It is a philosophy argument. Okay? The moment that you try to get into that philosophical argument, you've lost.
Yes, you ready? A person is a human being with rights. A human being with rights is a person.
See? There you go. That guy is describing the philosophical underpinnings of personhood, or what the overarching consensus on something that is almost impossible to find consensus on. Like, what are the most tangible qualities of personhood is what he is describing. Okay? That's not circular logic. It's not circular logic inherently. What he is describing is what that guy is describing is basically trying to codify something or trying to make something that is intangible tangible. Okay? That has nothing to do with like women losing their rights. It doesn't matter. Just don't even have that conversation.
Human being with rights. At no point does he define when a human being transforms from a human being without rights into a human being with rights. So he just completely avoids
Moment of birth. What do you mean? Literally, moment of birth. What? Like, the moment that is outside the fetus. What are you talking about? A birth certificate. What the fuck? No, that's so dumb. There's no fucking like conception party. You know what I mean? You have a birthday. You have a day of birth. They slap a fucking social security number on you and they say, you're alive now. You're a human now. That's it. Why is he acting like this is not already established? Dude, conservatives, when talking about anything else, there is objective truth and there is objective morality that you can only arrive at through religion, even though I'm bastardizing some of the religious rules that I've learned and totally ignoring other good ones. Conservatives, when talking about the concept of abortion, become like the most postmodernist motherfuckers you've ever encountered. They're like, what does it mean to be life? Livelihood starts maybe at conception. Who is to say it does not? What is a day of birth? It is a government-assigned concept. Does that mean personhood? It's like, what are you talking about, dude? Sometimes, in order to fucking work in society and function, you got to be like, all right, dog, this is how it works, okay? Everybody agrees with it. That's how we're going to do it. Like, the moment that you talk about, like, woman, what is a woman? What is a man? Ben Shapiro immediately was like, oh, dude, what are you talking about? It's very well defined. It's so easily defined. It's like, even though history has shown that it's not. Think about that like time, Ben, okay? Think about that like all the other times where you have tried to define certain contextual cues that we all agree on, okay?
Avoids the argument through this magical circle. A person is a human being with rights. A human being with rights is a person. Okay, define human being with rights.
And there are a few different kinds of theories you can have. One could be just to say if X is living and a human being, X is a person, right? Now, some people have problems with that. So Peter Singer and some animal rights advocates, for example, think that that's a speciesist attitude, that by saying human equals person.
I'm done. I'm done. The moment that you bring up fucking Singer, I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. You lost. You lost. You lost the argument. You lost the argument. You lost the argument. Stop. We don't have to have this conversation right now. Why are you bringing up Singer, bro? What the fuck? Oh my God. I'm going to die. I'm literally eating an animal carcass currently.
It's problematic that we're excluding animals.
Right. He's wrong. I mean, listen, I will give it to Peter.
He's not wrong. It is a speciesist argument. And we are speciesists.
Singer. Peter Singer is a logical thinker. He is. He is consistent. Peter Singer literally believes that you should be able to murder a baby.
Bro, by the way, this is my favorite thing. This is it. This is literally fucking moral consistency above all else, okay? Moral consistency above all else is what is important for a lot of neoliberals. You know who they are. They're probably in here right now. And people like fucking Ben Shapiro, okay? But in most circumstances, they're not even being morally consistent. And also on top of that, it is the presence of moral consistency. But also on top of that, they rarely ever account the impractical nature of nature itself. Okay? Well, he's morally consistent. Peter Singer is great. He's morally consistent. It's like, even if he disagrees with him, he's like, I disagree with him, but at least he's logical. At least he's morally consistent. Okay, what if you're a fucking morally consistent piece of shit? Like, how does that work? Well, at least you're morally consistent. Upholding moral consistency as the most profoundly important value is typical fucking out-of-touch, hyper-rational, even though they're not rational at all, debate bro shit.
Past its birth. He says this. He's not closeted about this. He says that because babies are not sentient and essentially have the same mental function as some kinds of animals, this means you should be able to abort, and when I say abort, I mean murder, a child post-birth. So I will give Peter Singer perfect points for consistency. But citing Peter Singer as your moral authority is sort of a risky business, as it turns out.
So other people have sometimes what are called a capacity X view, where they say, in order to be a person, you have to...
Dog, he's very clearly talking about something that is in the realm of philosophy. Okay? This argument is not about the scientific explanation for personhood, where no such explanation really exists anyway. This argument is about the philosophical underpinnings of what it means to be a living, breathing human being. Okay? What is personhood is actually the main fucking reason why people have the baby murder argument on the right, because you don't have to deal with the philosophy of personhood, because your bastardized interpretation of personhood already is written in religious dogma. Not in Ben's religious dogma, because he's Jewish, but in Christian dogma! You cock! Sorry. Additionally ridiculous. Okay? But he's not talking about... He's not saying Peter Singer is the moral authority here. He's showcasing the different philosophical attitudes about personhood. That's it. Okay? That's it. This is an explainer on the different philosophical opinions or ongoing debates revolving around what it means to be a person. Oh my God.
To have X capacity.
Bruh, and there are others besides the perspective? Of course there are.
And then we have to fill in what X is. Is it the ability to think complex thoughts, the ability to plan and look towards the future, the ability to feel pain whether you understand it? Is it about continuity of an identity over time, or is it merely being alive and breathing?
Okay, so here's the problem. Any standard other than alive and breathing means that you're going to be murdering people unborn in the womb. Right? Any other standard he mentioned there. So, discontinuity of identity. We have people who have conditions where they have discontinuity of identity. Can you murder them?
Ben Shapiro hates vegans, supposedly. Literally did a steak ad. And now, imagine my surprise that he's engaging with an argument that Peter Singer probably fucking loves, which is to name the trait. This is the anti-abortion version of name the trait. That's exactly what he's doing right now. Now, a lot of you ex-debate lords in this community that are reformed, hopefully, know exactly what I'm talking about when I say name the trait. If you ever talk to a vegan who loves debates, they are going to they're going to intellectually trap you into a name the trait argument to try to showcase that you are speciesist. Like, what's the difference between a human being that has like a vegetable brain and an animal? Pigs have the intellectual capacity of a 6-year-old. Would you kill a 6-year-old and eat a 6-year-old? That sort of thing. That is exactly what he's doing, which is, because this concept is up for debate, what Ben is doing in this circumstance is weaponizing the almost impossible way of describing personhood to say, name the trait. What's the difference in that situation between a fetus and a human being?
They have,
by basically reducing it and making that concept completely devoid of context and reducing it to an individual trait, locking him into a trap.
human value. How about thinking complex thoughts? Have you ever met a small child? They don't think complex thoughts. Or a person who is very elderly and maybe losing mental function. Honest to goodness, the standards that he is using here are completely applicable to people who are fully grown. You know, you find out when you think this thing through, it turns out that every standard other than being a human being with potential, other than being a member of the species Homo sapiens.
Okay, but in vitro fertilized fucking eggs are also human beings with potential in that logic. And yet you don't consider that to be life. Why? You literally completely abandoned that argument when Bill Nye presented it, when he was talking about the scientific nature of birth. Sperm is life. No, it's because his worldview is guided by, again, the Bible, okay? Not the Torah, but an interpretation of the Bible, a very specific and narrow framing of the Bible. That's it. He doesn't need to think too much because all the thinking's been done for him.
Any other standard leads you to some pretty dark roads here.
And then there are complex questions about what happens for things that have the potential to have capacity X, or
Person at a conception is not a Catholic or Orthodox Christian dogma. They disallow abortions because even if the fetus is non-human, it has the capacity to grow into one. Abortion was not considered murder before quickening by Catholics until 1869. Yeah, I mean, abortions were very commonplace. Benjamin Franklin quite literally wrote a at-home abortion medical procedure for people that wanted to conduct an abortion on themselves. This is, of course, this predates modern medicine, so it's a little bit different, but straight up, the concept was commonplace, and people never thought about legislating it. People never thought about it being a bad thing. So, it's these fucking weird losers.
had capacity X but lost it. So for example, a fetus doesn't have the ability, as early fetus, let's just say an embryo, just to make it very easy, an embryo before 14 days doesn't have the capacity to think deep thoughts about the future, have future orientation. I think that's pretty well accepted by everyone. But it certainly has the potential to do so, right? And the question is that enough? What kind of theory of potentiality? Hydrogen and oxygen each have the potential together to become water. But does that mean that they are water? They have the metaphysical properties of water?
No,
Or do we
that's
require
stupid.
more of a kind of potentiality? Something like, in the natural course of things, you will become something.
Well, I mean, obviously the latter. That's like saying that sperm and egg, apart from one another, have the potential to become a human being. Apart from each other, they don't. Combined, they do. I mean, it's the latter, obviously. When you say potential human being, you mean this is a human being with potential, as Robert George says from Princeton.
Now, even if you think something is a person, that doesn't necessarily mean you've solved the abortion problem.
Did Ben just like not understand what he's saying?
I mean, they
Wait,
do.
I'm
Egg,
confused.
No,
To become water. Reality. You know, hydrogen and oxygen each have the potential together to become water. But does that mean that they are water? They have the metaphysical properties of water?
no,
Or do we
that's
require
stupid.
more of a kind of potentiality, something like in
I don't even like the hydrogen and oxygen argument because, like, not every time a fucking egg and a sperm get together do you even have fucking life. Not every time do you have an egg that is like successfully fertilized by semen. Does it even guarantee the potential of life? Even when they are together, that doesn't guarantee life. Just because something has the potential to become something else does not necessarily mean that those two things put together is always going to happen. So treating it as that is fucking insane.
in the natural course of things, you will become something.
Well, I mean, obviously the latter. That's like saying that sperm and egg, apart from one another, have the potential to become a human being. Apart from each other, they don't. Combined, they do. I mean, it's the latter, obviously. When you say potential human being, you mean this is a human being with potential, as Robert George says from Princeton.
Now, even if you think some
No, his argument makes sense. Ben just repeated it, but like put a fucking stink to it. He's not saying hydrogen and oxygen removed from one another is not water. Wait, what? Not true. You'll see when your partner gets pregnant, Hasan. What the fuck do you mean? Brother, even if I personally, first of all, even if I personally think abortion is murder, right? Which I don't. But even if I did, okay? What decisions I could make with a potential partner, your mom, right? In the future is entirely different than what I think other people should not have access to. Okay? Me and your mom are dating. I love coming inside of your mom. Okay? Your mom gets pregnant. I personally think abortion is murder, let's say, in this hypothetical. Your mom also thinks abortion is murder, right? In this hypothetical. So she is like, I already had one shitty son, Hamdi Gaming 1. I want to make sure that we have like one good one, okay? You're about to have a stepbrother. That is entirely different than our opinion, me and your mom. I'm your new stepfather, okay? Our opinion on what kind of legislation should prevent other people from doing this. Do you get it? You understand? You can personally think that abortion is like literally fucking baby murder and decide that like women should be able to make decisions over their own bodies, other women. You get it?
something is a person, that doesn't necessarily mean you've solved the abortion problem. So it is possible, although popular among philosophers, not so popular in the political press, to say fetuses are persons, and yet abortion is still legal and justified. How does that argument go? The suggestion is that there is a right of another entity that has overcome whatever interest the fetus has. And that
Ben would literally be like, you should be able to enslave and murder and torture a homeless person if they enter your home. But if a woman wants to fucking yeet a fetus out of her body, then, you know, she's not allowed to do that. It's just so stupid. Like, the fetus is violating the non-aggression principle.
has the right typically of the mother who is gestating the fetus. So the claim is, yes, a fetus is a person. Yes, abortion will cause the death of a person, but that doesn't mean that abortion is wrong, because the woman gestating the fetus has a right to stop that gestating, even if it will result in the death of a person.
Now, you can see why that might be popular among certain philosophers, but is wildly unpopular with the American people, because it turns out.
Wait, why? Maybe because it's the woman, right? Because it revolves around the woman having bodily autonomy over her own body. That's why it's wildly unpopular, you fucking dick. I think women are people. You just don't care about their autonomy. That's the reason why it's unpopular. And even then, the legislation is still profoundly popular.
Out that is a horrifying argument that is, again, broadly applicable to situations beyond fetushood. When do my rights conquer your ability to live? I mean, throughout human history, by the way, there have been multiple societies.
When is your rights conquer your ability to live? When you are literally sucking the life force out of someone. The fuck do you mean? So that's the reason why it's a morally consistent argument. But Ben will never understand that. Because, you know, Ben thinks women and Palestinian people are just not people. As a matter of fact, Ben thinks a lot of people are not people.
Societies where the dehumanization of other people has allowed people to argue for their mass murder.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
I'm not just talking about the Holocaust. I'm talking about throughout human history. That chain of thought, that this...
Once again, Ben only remembers that words are violence when it comes to making a fucking shitty argument against abortion. 95% of the time, Ben's on camera. He's literally doing that exact same thing for trans people, black people, women, Palestinians, brown people, Muslims. This motherfucker, gay people. This motherfucker has not seen a group of individuals he has not personally dehumanized dehumanized in an effort to justify genocide. Okay?
With a right to life. And my countervailing rights overcome that right to life. That is an argument with an extraordinarily ugly history. You know, the fact that that last argument is so ugly is why they spend so much time trying to say that this is not a person. Because if they admit that this is a person and that the person has rights, that a human being with potential...
No. I will not allow this to happen. Not on my watch. No. Ben, you do not get to avoid the underlying hidden premise that life begins at conception is religious dogma, not even your own religion, but Christian religious dogma, and then turn around and get mad at philosophers for sometimes arriving at the conclusion that maybe the philosophical underpinnings of personhood is not the best way to advocate for legislation that revolves around bodily autonomy of women. You do not get to hide your underlying premise and then shit on a dude who's trying to do a philosophical justification for it. Not even a justification, but just rather different ways of looking at personhood. That's bullshit. That's cowardly. Because at the end of the day, Ben does not have a scientific reason for claiming that life begins at conception. It is a religious framing. Okay? That's it. He completely avoids mentioning that. He completely avoids having to debate that perspective. And then fucking yells at a dude who's trying to describe the different ways of looking at life. I'm Chris Piker, and Ben Shapiro just got fucking owned.
Potential is in fact a human being, then all the other arguments fall away pretty quickly. And they know this, which is why they never resort to this final argument. Again, the clearer they are in their arguments, the uglier the argument is. If they're very clear, like Peter Singer, that small babies who are not fully sentient should be treated basically like embryos and then killed, then their entire argument looks too ugly. And so instead, they have to just ignore the personhood of the fetus.
This is a bad way of debating. It's just like a really bad way. He didn't even try. I used to watch Ben Shapiro videos and get fucking mad because at least it was like good narrative, good framing. He didn't even try. He basically just said, "Oh, once you abide by my framing, once you abide by my fucking underlying premise that a fetus is a person without any other qualifications whatsoever, then you've lost. You've lost the argument." It's like, no, first of all, even from that perspective of like a personhood, even if you accept personhood, the fetus is still violating the non-aggression principle, so you should be able to yeet it, is a totally adequate, perfectly adequate way of making that argument, right? It's perfectly adequate. He never even mentioned that. He never even countered that whatsoever. He just said, it's inhumane. Facts don't care about your feelings, bitch. Number one. Number two, Ben never, throughout this 12-minute and 20-second video, not once, mentioned why life begins at conception. What the scientific basis for life begins at conception is. Because there is none. He's just repeating what other people previously said about their religious dogma, about their own personal interpretation of Christianity. That's it. But because he never had to be on the back foot, he never had to defend that premise, because he's debating a video and a video can't speak out against him, he doesn't even have to fucking mention it.